The Old Man and the Donkey, A Tale of Choices and Contentment. Chapter 1. A bright morning in the village. In a small, lively village bordered by rolling hills and dotted with cozy cottages, there lived an old man named Mr. Harris. Every morning, as the sun painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, Mr. Harris prepared for his daily journey to the nearby market. His faithful companion was a gentle donkey named Dusty, who had been by his side for many years. Together, they set out along the dusty village road, with Mr. Harris loaded down with baskets filled with fresh vegetables, handmade goods, and sometimes a few surprises for the neighbors. The bond between Mr. Harris and Dusty was strong. They shared many quiet moments, and both took pride in their daily routine. Little did they know, their simple journey would soon become the center of much discussion in the village. Chapter 2. The First Words of Concern. As Mr. Harris rode Dusty along the familiar road, a friendly neighbor named Mrs. Green, tending to her vibrant garden, called out, "Oh, Mr. Harris, how kind of you to ride that poor donkey. Why don't you walk instead so Dusty can have a break?" Hearing her concern, Mr. Harris felt a twinge of worry. He had never meant to burden Dusty, and the thought of causing his friend discomfort made him hesitate. Respectfully, he dismounted and began walking beside Dusty, letting the donkey do all the work of carrying the baskets. Chapter 3. Conflicting advice emerges. Not long after Mr. Harris started walking, another villager, Mr. Jenkins, spotted him and called, "Mr. Harris, what are you doing? Your dear Dusty is meant for carrying loads, not for your walking. It would be better if you rode so Dusty might rest his tired legs." Now confused by the conflicting advice, Mr. Harris looked down at Dusty, whose patient eyes suggested he was content either way. Still, wanting to do what was best for his friend, Mr. Harris climbed back onto Dusty's broad back and continued on his way to the market. Chapter 4. A Chorus of Opinions. As the pair ambled further along the road, more villagers joined the conversation. A group of children playing near a market stall giggled and shouted, "Look! An old man riding his donkey. You should be walking to show you care about your animal." Meanwhile, an elderly gentleman with a kind smile added, "No, no. The old man should ride, so that the donkey doesn't become exhausted from all that walking." Every new remark made Mr. Harris pause and reconsider his choices. He thought of Dusty's well-being and the many opinions swirling around him. Should he ride? Should he walk? Each piece of advice was offered with good intentions, yet they all seemed to contradict one another. Chapter 5. Changing course again. Unable to settle on one method, Mr. Harris decided to try a different approach. He dismounted once more and began walking beside Dusty, hoping that by letting his loyal companion carry the load on his own, he would finally do what was best for Dusty. However, barely had he started walking than another voice rang out from behind. A young man named Oliver, known for his spirited ideas, called, "Mr. Harris, if you walk and let Dusty work alone, the poor donkey will tire out quickly. Please get back on and ride. It's the kinder thing to do." Torn by the constant back and forth, Mr. Harris once again mounted Dusty. His mind became a whirl of confusion. Each villager's advice was sincere but contradictory, and the more he tried to please everyone, the more uncertain he felt about his own choice. Chapter 6. The Market Day Dilemma. By the time Mr. Harris and Dusty reached the market, the issue had become the talk of the town. Whispers and nods accompanied every step they took, and the pair could feel the eyes of the villagers upon them. Some admired the way Mr. Harris listened to each suggestion, while others critiqued him for his indecision. All the while, Dusty trotted along steadily, seemingly unaffected by the human debate, his ears twitching at every new sound. At the market, amid the colorful stalls and cheerful chatter, Mr. Harris found little comfort. Every vendor and customer had an opinion about how he should travel, and the constant chatter left him more troubled than when he had started his journey that morning. Chapter 7. A quiet moment of reflection. Later that afternoon, as Mr. Harris and Dusty rested under the shade of an old oak tree outside the market, the old man finally allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. Looking down at Dusty, who now grazed peacefully on some grass, Mr. Harris thought about the day's endless chorus of advice. He realized that despite everyone's best intentions, their opinions could never truly know what was best for him and his dear friend Dusty. With a gentle smile, he patted Dusty on the head and whispered, "My dear friend, from now on, we will do what feels right for us. We need not worry about pleasing everyone." In that quiet moment, the old man recognized that his own wisdom, formed through years of experience and deep care for his companion, was enough to guide him. The well-meaning chatter of the villagers would always be there, but their voices did not hold the answers to his unique journey. Chapter 8. Choosing their own way. Renewed by his newfound resolve, Mr. Harris mounted Dusty without hesitation and resumed their journey back to the village. This time, he walked with a light heart and a clear mind, content with the decision that felt right to him. Whether riding or walking, he knew that Dusty was happy as long as they were together and doing what they loved, traveling side by side, sharing the road and their friendship. The villagers, noticing Mr. Harris's calm determination, gradually fell silent. They realized that the old man and his donkey had chosen a path that made sense to them, regardless of the many opinions that had tried to sway them earlier. Chapter 9. Homecoming and Contentment. Back in the village, as the sun began to set, Mr. Harris and Dusty returned to their modest home. The familiar warmth of the cottage and the comforting smile on Mr. Harris's face spoke volumes. They had learned an important lesson on their journey that day. Trying to please everyone would only leave one feeling lost and uncertain. In the quiet evening, as Mr. Harris prepared a simple meal and Dusty rested after a long day's work, the old man reflected on the day's events. He understood that genuine care and wisdom come from within, and that external voices, however well-meaning, could never replace the knowledge of what was truly best for him and his faithful friend. Chapter 10. The Wisdom of Being True to Yourself. In the days that followed, the story of Mr. Harris and Dusty spread throughout the village. Children would giggle as they recounted the many voices that had argued about the best way to travel, and the elders nodded thoughtfully at the wisdom behind the old man's choice. Mr. Harris became known not only for his kindness and hard work, but also for his ability to trust his own judgment despite the clamor of opinions. The tale of the old man and his donkey served as a gentle reminder to everyone. You cannot please everyone, and that is perfectly okay. The most important thing is to stay true to yourself and to care for those who are close to your heart. In doing so, you create a life of contentment and peace that no amount of criticism can disturb. Moral of the story: you cannot please everyone. The story of Mr. Harris and Dusty teaches us that while advice from others is often well-intentioned, it is impossible to satisfy all opinions. Trust in your own judgment, care for those you love, and follow the path that feels right for you. In the end, living true to yourself is the greatest wisdom of all.